Hey, I'm back. This time we're going to be continuing the series where we examine every spec. Yeah, that's right, I said every spec in Mists of Pandaria by talking about Holy Priest. Now, if you just came from the Discipline Priest guide, don't worry, I still can't say Excel properly. If you don't get that joke, you might want to go back and look because, boy, it's worth it. It's worth it. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to be talking about how Holy Priest has changed, how it's going to handle in Mists of Pandaria. We're going to discuss things like changes to talents, glyphs, stats, and reforged priority. And we're going to talk about how to heal with what spells and when. And at the end, a comparison of all the healers and how they stack up to Holy Priests. Get right into it then. Changes to the class. Same as the last video if you watched it, but if not, I'm going to have to go through it anyway. Basically, a lot of heals and spells in the priests are either gone or discipline or holy specific now. You'll notice that as you switch specs. Not really going to belabor over that, but either way, you'll need to take notice as to which heals you now have available and don't. Power word fortitude, we'll hover it over there. There you go. Power word fortitude now increases stamina by 10%. That's up from, what, 560 some from the actual power word fort back in Kata. That's a huge deal. Still one of the strongest buffs in the game. Always will be. Stamina is really important to staying alive and for tanks. Also, there is no more resistance. So the shadow resistance buff that we used to have is gone. It's gone. Rest in peace. So in terms of spec-specific changes, as we mentioned, some spells are only holy, only discipline. One of these is going to be Divine Hymn. It's kind of decent. It's whatever. If you got to use it, use it. It's a pretty cool spell, but I mean, that's just one thing. Another big thing is Lightwell's back, baby, in a big way. People got to use it properly if they want to really maximize Holy. I've always said that Holy is the skill man. You know, this is the one that you want to play if you want to play a lot and got high skill. You want to be doing a lot of things. Discipline's the one if you want to be able to easily maximize your efficiency. It's kind of like Fire Mage and Arcane Mage. Yeah, I went there. But yeah, Holy Light. Wow. Lightwell is cool. It's got a new glyph. We'll talk about that when we get there. Renew got a big change. Okay, it's no longer worth casting. What's that? Oh, okay. Actually, I'm being told that hasn't changed. And other than that, a big change for all of these. Every caster in the game now has a capped mana pool. It's going to put a huge value on Spirit, which we'll talk about here shortly. But basically, you really need either something to regen mana or something to save mana, as you're just not going to be able to stack it with Intellect to get even more and out mana a fight. So we're talking for stats, the same thing we've been saying for 2 videos now. All these videos have the same deal. Spirit or Int. Int only is throughput now, and Spirit is basically the only way you're going to be able to regen mana and keep mana throughout the whole fight. So it was always valued high, but now it's even more valued, and Intellect dropped the notch. It's up to you whether or not you want Spirit or Intellect. Basically, everything should be the same wise. So if you need extra Spirit, you'll go Spirit. If you need extra throughput, you'll go Intellect. Now, Mastery, we talked about this in Discipline. I like it for Holy too. Your direct healing spells also heal for an additional 20% over 6 seconds. That might not seem like a really efficient thing. It's definitely not the Discipline one. Okay, let's put it that way. It is not the Discipline one. Not nearly as good, but it's still cool because there's a lot of incidental healing. So Mastery could be really good on fights where there's just massive amounts of healing going on. Since this is basically the AoE spec, this is a good thing to have, right? Extra healing going on after the AoE. So I like Mastery. Haste is definitely a lot better for Holy than it was for Discipline, but it's also going to lead to a lot more mana consumption. You're going to be casting a lot more spells as Holy. Okay, the thing about Haste is reduce cast time, reduce global cooldown, stuff like that. But when you're casting a ton of spells, you're also using a ton of mana. With other specs, the more spells you cast is fine, but you don't cast nearly as many as you will with Holy. A lot of instants, a lot of stuff on the move, a lot of drag and drop kind of stuff. So Haste is going to be good. It's a very good stat, but you got to watch your mana. Okay, and Crit is absolutely worthless. We're back to that. Rest in peace, Crit. Discipline was the only spec maybe that could use it, but even still. So it's definitely going to be Spirit. You'll have Int by default. Won't have to worry about that. Mastery above Haste. Haste above Crit. So make sure you reforge for Mastery and Spirit, in my opinion. So in terms of Talons, it's utterly the same as Discipline, literally the same situations, but there is one big difference. You can watch the Discipline video if you want in-depth on the changes, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that if you can cast multiple times, use Power Word Solace for this tier. If not, you got to use Mindbender. You need to cast at least 4 times a minute to make it more than Mindbender. Body and Soul or Angelic Feathers in the 30 points. It's whether or not you plan on using Power Word Shield. Probably not as Holy, so you can probably go Feathers. Likely a better option. 60 point is got to be Spectral Guise. There's no doubt about it. But there is a few options where you might need to increase your total health. Other than that, we're talking about Power Infusion or these other options. Twist of Fate, same thing as we said in the last guide. Pretty much if the target or people are always below 20% health, perhaps Chimeron, you might want to use this. Other than that, you're not really going to have a huge use for it. And Cascade has got to be the heal for when it's not your stack up fight. Pretty much any other fight other than an Ultraxian fight where everybody's stacked and never moves. This is going to be a really good one. Halo looks badass, but you really have to maximize it. It's very hard to maximize. Here, I'll hover over it. There you go, because the more it goes out to 30 yards and the farther the target is away, the more it's going to heal for. So you got to position yourself, and the animation goes farther than 30 yards, so it's just a mind trip. It's hard. And Divine Star is the one that you're going to use. There you go, Divine Star. Okay, Divine Star is the one that you're going to use if you are stacked up, everybody's in front of you kind of thing. But now there's one big difference, okay? One big difference. From darkness comes light. Okay, we got to talk about this. Now, this is interesting. Obviously not going to be able to smite, but you have a 15% chance when you heal, flash heal, binding heal, or greater heal to cause your next flash heal to be instant cast. Now, I like Power Word Solace, and I definitely like Mindbender, but if mana is not an issue, this is insane, okay? Because it's a lot more important for Holy. Serendipity. When you heal with Binding Heal or Flash Heal, that's what we're talking about, the cast time of your next Greater Heal or Prayer of Healing spell is reduced by 20%. It's going to stack. Mana cost can be reduced by 10%. It's going to stack twice, okay? Now, if you get free and instant cast Flash, you know, what? Like, how good is that for this? You know, this is unreal. So if you can use this properly, and you don't really need to worry about mana with Mindbender or Solace, this is the way. This is going to save you mana in the first place, and it's also going to massively increase your throughput, because you cannot just cast Flash Heal. You're not going to, like these other heals, like Heal, Greater Heal, that's fine. That you're going to be casting those anyway. But for Serendipity, it's only Binding Heal or Flash Heal. You're not going to really be using Binding Heal, and Flash Heal is just too expensive to use otherwise. So it used to be something that you wanted to keep up. But if you can, like, this is great for many, many ways. It's awesome. So this might be a really potent talent. I'm calling it now. This is going to be a dark horse. But if you got to not need the mana. That's got to be the problem. You got to have enough spirit to not worry about the mana. Because you're basically going to be using this for throughput. You're not going to be using this to save mana. You wouldn't be casting those flashlights otherwise. You would only be using them to build Serendipity. In terms of glyphs, once again, pretty much the same thing as Discipline, but there's a few different changes. This one's interesting. Circle of Healing is going to heal an extra target, but it's going to cost 35% more. Let's go over here. It's currently 10,500 mana when you're maxed at 300k. So it's like fucking another 35. So that's going to be 10,004. Oh, God. It's going to be 14,000 mana. It's a lot. But it's going to heal extra, so if you got the mana, go for it. Discipline or Holy can use these ones. Pain Suppression and Guardian Spirit cast while stunned. If there's a fight where you're going to stun and you still need to cast it, it's a good one. Kind of like Halphus. I think it was, I don't know if that counted as a stun, but something like that. Where we got Fade. This is the go-to one. Got to use this when you got to reduce damage. Not really many options anyway, so you might as well pick it up. Fear Ward as well. If you need to place a Fear Ward for, multiple reasons, go for that one. Instant Holy Fire, nope. Holy Nova, lol. Inner Fire, nah. PvP. Focus, that's not even usable. Inner Sanctum, this one's the cool one. It allows you to move a bit faster, and you're going to take less damage. So, if there's a fight where you're moving and taking damage, this is definitely a good one to pick. Leap of Faith kind of does the same thing. Removes all impairing effects, so now. Levitate's going to increase your movement. It's kind of PvP. Lightwell. Now this is interesting. We got a few things about Lightwell to talk about glyph-wise. This glyph here is going to increase the total amount of charges of your Lightwell by 2. Okay, so if people actually use the thing, there'll be 2 extra charges to make it even better. It's always a pain to get people to use this, but in order to play Holy properly, you really need to maximize people using Lightwell. So make macros or shit like that. Prayer of Mending we talked about in Discipline. Very cool. First charge, your Prayer of Mending is going to heal for an additional 60%. So if there's basically a fight where the tank is really the only one taking damage, kind of like Hagara, right? There's really only one person taking damage at a time. If the other people need it, it's like, you know, 1 fewer charge isn't going to make or break it. So this is a cool option when the tank's taking a lot of damage. That's about it. Renew is going to heal for 30% more each time it heals, but duration is reduced by 33. Might be a decent option. We'll talk about Renew in a bit, but if you're moving a lot, you might need to cast it. Otherwise, it's really not worth using, so this might be a good glyph for that. And that's really it. This is a good option, probably one of the only real good choices. Spirit of Redemption is just going to reduce or increase the duration by 10 seconds, so fuck, if for some reason you're dead, might as well have this glyph. There's not really a lot of good options out there, so if for some reason you think you might die, just pop it on, and you'll have 10 extra seconds to cast and be that much more efficient. So, and also, really cool, forgot to mention, I don't know how, but Life Spring. This is the one I was actually thinking of when I talked about the other one. This is a neat one because every 1 second, the Light Spring will attempt to heal party members lower than 50% health. Okay? So this is freaking good because nobody actually has to click it. It can't be clicked. It does it by itself, but people have to be below 50%. So if you're in a raid where there's a bunch of idiots and they don't click it, I mean, to be honest with you, I just don't click it. I don't have the time to move my mouse over there. I'd rather just heal and keep going as, you know. But anyway, if people don't click it and people are going below 50, hey, this is going to do it for you. So this is a really cool idea for fights where people are below 50% constantly. Otherwise, not really working out. Okay, so we're going to talk about healing priority, spell selection, and quote-unquote rotation, although I hate calling it that. So we're talking about a fight like Ultraxian, an AoE standstill fight. Basically, it's pretty plain and simple, and it's a lot easier than Discipline, so if you're a Discipline priest doing this, you're probably just wanting to switch to Holy quick. Sanctuary Chakra is the way to go, and you're going to get a spell. I believe it's called Sanctuary, and it's going to be basically a giant AoE heal on the ground. It's a lot more mana efficient now. It heals for a shit ton, so this is the way to go. Just keep that on the ground. Otherwise, use Prayer of Mending, keep that bouncing, and Prayer of Healing for, you know, we talked about this before. I'll bring this up one more time. This is how important that is. Okay, where the hell is it? There we go. Darkness Comes Light and Serendipity together, right? Prayer of Healing. 20% reduced, and mana cost. So if you can use those properly, this is freaking overpowered. This makes these so much better than Discipline at AoE healing. If you could use that stuff properly, oh boy, are you going to be efficient and good. Now also you'll use Circle of Healing, but be careful. You definitely want to be hitting 5 people with that. This costs a lot of mana. We just said that, right? 10,500 mana when I'm capped at 300k. That's a lot. So you got to make sure you're getting the max out of the spell. Don't just use it randomly. I mean, when people play, sometimes they just throw it out when it's on CD, but that's not a good idea. You definitely don't want to waste mana. And also then you'll use Cascade or Divine Star based on what situation you're in, whether it's a stack up, everyone's in front of you, or more of a spread out kind of fight. Now, we're talking about single target, and we should just be talking about Discipline. There should be absolutely no reason you should be single target healer as Holy. If you really, really, really prefer Holy, that's fine. What you want to do is you want to get the Serenity Chakra. Let's get that up. Where's that at? Come on, let's go. Okay, Serenity. There we go. Chakra Serenity. It's the yellow one. It's going to give you Holy Word Serenity. That's going to instantly heal the target and increase the critical effect chance of your healing spells by 25%. So that's a good one. It's decent. It's definitely decent. But if we're talking about single target reductive healing, it's got to be Discipline. Why would you be Holy? I don't know. But there's a good option. This is a cool idea. It doesn't have a lot of good functionality, but you could also use Power Infusion. I've picked that up in Talons. And basically just use your best heal, whether it's flash heal, or big heals, you know, small heals, anything like that. Other than that, if there's a movement fight, this might be a good idea to be holy. Definitely a good idea. You'll pick up Darkness Comes Light. We'll talk about that one more time because that's how important it is. When Darkness Comes Light comes up, you'll get instant flashes. So you'll actually have to cast those heals though in the first place to get those. But if you can do it, you'll be really good. So say Atramedes, you're running, you stop. Cast a few heals, get free flashes, ready to run again, run, go. Circle of Healing if needed, Prayer of Mending bouncing around, and, if you have to use Renew, you can, and Cascade on the move as well, right? Or perhaps, even Halo. Divine Storm is just not going to work, though. Divine Star is just not going to work if you're moving. Okay. And we'll try to wrap this up with comparing the state of Holy to other healers. Now, Holy is a very interesting... Priest in general are very interesting in terms of this meta. And this is because they have such diversity. They are basically two classes in one. They can be a potent single target healer, very, very potent reductive healer, or a very, very efficient AoE healer, especially with the Darkness Comes Light changes. Boy, can you be a really efficient AoE healer. Unreal. Okay, so in terms of AoE healing, I would say Holy Priests are up there. Absolutely up there. I still like Shamans. Shamans seem the best to me. Okay, and I guarantee monks are going to be so fucking dumb and broken that they're going to end up being the best. But I would say Shamans, Holy Priests, then Resto Druids. Okay, so they are up there. We'll see what happens with monks. But one way or the other, definitely really, really strong AoE healers. In terms of single target throughput, though, fuck no. Just don't bother with this. If you are a priest and you want to maximize your ability and don't really care which spec you play, do not play this spec if you want a single target. It's good. It's very good. It's not as bad as it used to be. Okay, and it's not as bad as Druid used to be. Put it that way. But Christ, is this not the spec you want? Oh God, it's so OP. Discipline is so OP. Just go Discipline. I'm begging you. AoE, Holy, single target this. Just take it that way. Okay. In terms of other heals they have, though, cooldowns, they don't really have a cooldown. Okay, we don't, like I said, Divine Hymn is really only Holy, but this is not a CD. Okay, this is not a raid CD. If you're holy and you have to be holy, use this. Abso-fucking-lutely use this. But if not, I don't see what you're going to do with this. It's just not going to help you out. Throughput-wise, they're going to be efficient. Okay, Spirit has always treated priests well since the very, very beginning. I don't know why, but priests have always had a very good regenerative pool. So that's good. And in terms of survivability and utility, they're up there. Okay, they have all kinds of stuff. They got life grip, they got movement speed stuff now, and they can keep themselves alive with this freaking blur thing, spectral guys or whatever. There he goes again. Yeah, that looks terrible. But anyway, the spectral guys thing, and now fade if you get the glyph. But so they're good. They're definitely a good option. It really situational though. If you want to be a crazy good AoE healer, then hell yeah, holy, go for it, badass. But if you want to be, oh man, if you can play Discipline properly and maximize its single target potential, it's scary. It's really scary. Same with Holy though, if you can maximize its AoE potential. So anyway, just a bit of a preface. I don't play this class. I definitely don't play Holy much. I have every healer at max level if you don't know me. I fancy myself a very competent healer. So I could easily pick this class up and play it well. But I don't sit here and grind math. I still don't know how to say Excel spreadsheet properly. But if I did, I would say it. And I would tell you that I don't use them. I don't crunch numbers. I don't smash my face off them. Okay? People do that. I don't. I got all this information from a friendie, a guildie, a friend of mine, Vicario. He hooked me up with all this info, so you could thank him. Guild's below in the description if you're interested. But one way or the other, if I made some mistakes, just let me know. All right, seriously, I would love to be proven wrong by math. If you have math, if you have spreadsheets, if you have viable math, logs, world, anything like that, just let me know. I would love to see it. We can talk. I don't know everything there is to know about this, but I do know a very lot about healing. Okay, so that's my resume there. Anyway, other than that, I've been Metro. You've been you. Check out the Discipline one if you haven't. There'll be annotations back and forth. But fuck, man. Holy Priest AoE. Titanic. See you guys in the next one.